WPWK, brought to you by Klipsch Audio. In the studio with me right now, I have Steve Dobo, who is the Director of Sponsorship and Promotion at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How are you?
Good. How are you, Colleen? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm doing very well, thank you. Klipsch are doing a wonderful sponsorship promotion with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which we'll speak about a bit later. But I kind of wanted to rewind and to talk about how the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was actually founded.
So it's interesting because this is 2015 is the 20th anniversary of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Years ago, I believe it was back around 86, there was, and this is the 30th anniversary of the inductions. So the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation was founded, and they were looking for a permanent home to put all of this, all of these great stories together, to say. And
it might be worth mentioning who actually founded.
Well, back in those days, and from what I remember, you have Ahmet Ertegun,
exactly,
who, is putting together this great initiative, along with many others that I will forget. But
I was mainly talking about Ahmet Ertegun, who was the legendary CEO and founder of Atlantic Records,
correct,
who was a real force in the music industry.
Definitely, and it was one of those things where they were looking for a permanent home, and Cleveland was one of these cities that actually stepped up and really went to bat for. I want to say there was a period of time where there was a vote, where there was a USA Today vote, if I'm not mistaken, and we were going against cities such as Memphis, Los Angeles, Chicago, many others,
and very big music cities.
Very big music cities. And what a lot of people don't realize, you look at Cleveland is truly very rich in rock and roll history, and I think that everyone saw that after this whole thing was said and done. You look at cities like Chicago, Memphis, New York, Los Angeles, all great stories to tell. At the end of the day, they picked Cleveland, and it was something that really resonated throughout the city and have not let go of it since. And here we are 20 years later.
Now, one of the reasons I think Cleveland was picked was not only was the city immensely behind it, but also you had a very legendary radio DJ there who coined the term rock and roll. And who was that?
No question. That was Alan Freed. No question about that. And, at the time, that's at the infancy of rock and roll and what he was doing in mixing the types of music that he was playing. It really created this unfound type of energy. And going forward from that, Cleveland has always been regarded as one of those cities that it was always rich in musical history, such as places like Leo's Casino, that Berry Gordy used to send down acts from Motown to test them out. And it's like, if you can make it there, you're going to be doing some wonderful things after that. Other things that came into play with that, you look at all of the tours that basically, if you can win over Cleveland, you can win over the world, and it was that type of mentality. So it has a very rich history.
Klipsch Audio, pissing off the neighbors since 1946. In the studio, I have with me Steve Dobo of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum. So why don't you tell me a bit about the museum itself and what you actually have in the museum and its relationship to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation?
Sure. So Cleveland gets the Hall of Fame. I M. Pei designed building this beautiful artwork, this beautiful piece of architecture on the lake in Cleveland. Over the last 20 years, it's 150,000 square feet of sheer inspiration. That's the best way to put it. You're looking at one of the biggest complaints that we get is that people really think that they're going to experience it in 2 to 3 hours, and it takes them 2 days sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
So the 2-day ticket is a very hot ticket. And we are, we're doing we're going to be coming up on our 10 millionth visitor this year. And you're talking about people from all 50 states, 110 countries around the world.
And how many years has it been open?
We have been open for 20 years. Mm-hmm. This is our 20th anniversary. Yep. So you have 7 theaters. You have this immersive type of experience to where you're not only seeing things, you're living things, and you're hearing and feeling and really kind of becoming part of the framework that was rock and roll. So it takes you on a journey from the beginnings all the way to the modern day. And there's, between our exhibits, between the films, and between a lot of the interactives, it could easily take you a day and a half to truly experience the whole thing.
So what kind of exhibits do you have there?
The exhibits vary, and we normally will have a featured exhibit. Like right now, the featured exhibit that will be, I believe, will be closing in fairly soon in February, is called Common Ground, which is the festival's experience. So we take a look at the timeline of festivals and the creation of these gathering places for people, all the way from the 40s, which people don't understand that a lot of this stuff was happening before Woodstock and so on, mm-hmm. all the way to the modern day with Coachella, Bonnaroo, and Glastonbury, of course.
Oh, so you have us from the UK in there as well, because it's the festival thing is huge in the United Kingdom, and it's definitely built a lot since Lollapalooza. Really, I went to the first Lollapalooza here in the US, and it was fantastic. But of course, we also had the Newport Folk Festival here, so there were a lot of other festivals before, like pop music.
No question, and with the advent of EDM and everything that's going on with that, there's a lot of things that we kind of broaden the spectrum from just a little bit more than what the norm was, because as you mentioned, there are so many more things to talk about besides just Woodstock and Newport Folk. So we that's been on exhibit now for about a year. We will be ready to switch over for the new inductees exhibit, which is going to open prior to the inductions, which will be in Cleveland this April 18th to be exact. And then from there, we will have there is going to be a couple of smaller exhibits that will rotate, and we'll go through that. But historically, there have been so many robust retrospectives on both artist and genre. Everything from John Lennon, The Clash, U2, The Who, the psychedelic era.
One of my favorites.
Exactly. and it's, these are all part of the fabric and the story. And it also, we have talked to many different types of things. When we actually put these exhibits on, it's more than just stuff. It's the stories of these artists, and it kind of takes you and puts you in a place in history, and it is an engaging type of experience as well.
Is it interactive in any way?
Many of them are, and we are evolving with technology in the way that we are going to be engaging the audience even more through the advent of technology. There's a lot of things that are in store. It's our 20th anniversary year, like I said, so there's a lot of things that we'll be announcing over the course of the next 2 to 3 months.
And also, you said you also have film showings. What kind of films do you screen?
So the Hall of Fame Theater, right now, it takes about an hour and a half to watch that complete film. It is every induction class from the advent of the inductions 30 years ago.
Oh my
gosh. And you're sitting there, and by the time it's done, you have no idea that much time just went by. But that's how robust this is now. There are other films that we have. There's a concert film that's showing on the exhibit that's going on with the festivals right now, and that's up on 6. And they rotate. There's different things. There's films. There was a film that we played called Rock Is. That was just a fabulous retrospective that went inside of these artists' thoughts on the creative process.
Inside of their thoughts?
It's great.
Cool. So that's really cool.
I'm not doing it justice. There's no question. No words can do it justice. It's an experience that we truly see. Everyone who walks away is just truly blown away by that experience.
And you also have a performance area as well.
We do. The newly christened Klipsch Audio Stage at the Rock Hall,
Fantastic.
which I'm very happy to talk about. There's several. We do a lot of shows. We do a lot of shows both performance-wise as well as education programs. We, at the core of who we are, an education facility. We are putting probably 50,000 kids a year, both through distance learning and on-site through Rock in the Schools programs, through the museum. And I'm not going to do this justice, but these are classes that are not about how to play instruments. These are classes about how rock and roll affected society throughout the 20th century, and does so through math, social studies, and the sciences.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Imagine as a kid, when you were in school, being able to talk to your teacher about going to a museum for a road trip that sure as hell wasn't going to be, talking about ancient English history.
Yes.
It's going to be talking about rock and roll and social change in the 60s.
Well, it sounds a lot more engaging.
Very.
And
very
it sounds like something that would be up Jack Black Street, School of Rock.
Yeah. with a little less emphasis on the instruments and a little bit more about the people that were making the music
and a little less,
why it was important.
Right, the cultural significance.
Definitely.
A little less emphasis on skipping school and going out and rehearsing.
Correct.
Okay, that's
Correct.
fair enough. That's fair enough. Well, that's great that you have, so that the theater is also where the induction will actually take place.
So the inductions actually take place this year. Will be in Cleveland at Public Hall, which is about a block away from the museum. But the Hall of Fame Theater is the final resting place for the inductees. There will be a new inductee exhibit that will open before that, about a week before the inductions, I believe. But it's one of those things that it will be its own entity. So it's not just lost in a corner. This is going to focus on the inductees and how much of an impact and why these artists were inducted this year.
Right. Now, one of the artists that is inducted this year will be Green Day.
Yes.
And do you want to talk about them a little bit?
You know what? I have to say, and I'm a little bit biased because of the Cleveland connection, but Green Day was part of the inductions in 2012. They inducted Guns N' Roses. And if that roof was not nailed down shut, it would have been so hard to keep it down after their performance. They opened up the show, they inducted GNR. Absolutely just the most energetic band, not just that night, but I think they have shown over the course of the last 25 or so years just how much of an impact they have had and will continue to have.
You're listening to WPWK, Loud and Proud.
In the studio with me right now, I have Steve Dobo of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum from Cleveland. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And you were telling me that you have a permanent Beatles exhibition at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Definitely. I mean, we have pretty large collections from some of the bigger artists, and the Beatles exhibit at the Hall is truly something. If you haven't experienced it, you will go by any day, and people will be sitting on the ledges watching the different films that are played within the exhibit, as well as experiencing some of these very, very important artifacts. I mean, for a while, Ringo gave us to put on exhibit the drumhead from the Ed Sullivan performance.
Oh my
and
gosh.
there's not that many of those.
That's an iconic performance as well.
And it takes you there. It really does. When they celebrated that anniversary, we had several things that came to be. We had John's Rickenbacker that he played that night. The drumhead, while it may seem just as an object, think about that thing. That was there, this inanimate object, making so much history.
Yes.
Because of the fact of what was going on, but it just sent such a ripple throughout the world. How many people that night, decided that's what I'm doing for the rest of,
and how many parents started pulling out their hair?
Exactly. That's very powerful stuff, and that's the type of thing that we try to convey at the museum as well.
And which films do you have of the Beatles?
You know what? It's kind of and don't quote me on it, but it's stuff that we have built throughout the years that basically take stuff that is already in existence, create a montage.
Create a montage,
Correct.
right? So you're not just playing A Hard Day's Night.
Correct.
Now, what is the actual relationship between the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the induction ceremony, and Klipsch Audio?
Klipsch Audio will be the presenting sponsor of the induction starting this year.
That's
and we
very
could
exciting.
Not be more excited. I mean, you look at these brands, and you look at what Klipsch is doing, and they really are at the forefront of the type of partner we would be looking for. prestige. They've been around since the advent of rock and roll. These guys are producing product that is absolutely stellar. And it's not that every day we open our doors and switch out everything that we have to be able to showcase a brand that's inferior. These guys are going to be coming in. We're going to be doing a complete overhaul of the museum with all Klipsch related products. So your experience through your headphones, your experience through the sound bars at all of the different video outlets, your experience through some of the interactives with some of the transitional, as well as some of the stuff in the theater, as well as the stage. So these are physical things that we will be doing with them. We couldn't be more excited. And it's really great to come out here to be able to experience the excitement of their customers as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been a Klipsch fan for, 25 years now. One thing that seems to really be very apt with this partnership with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that Klipsch loudspeakers are loud.
They're loud, but they can't be broken. They cannot be broken, and that is the beauty of it.
And we know rock and roll should be played very loud.
There's no doubt, no doubt. And for some, maybe that's the only way that they can listen to it anymore.
Exactly.
You're listening to WPWK, Keepers of the Sound.
So let's talk also about, you guys have a relationship with Sirius Radio and have a radio show there.
We do. We actually, Sirius XM has been a very good partner of the Hall for years now. We have a permanent radio studio. Actually, it was the Alan Freed studio for years. And then we broadcast out of the Hall on Sirius. Everyday Classic Vinyl is broadcast out of there. There's also the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame channel on Sirius XM, which has been great. It's a great extension of the brand. It's a good way for us to really tell a little bit more about the stories of the artist, more so than just playing the songs, And Sirius has truly given a lot of support to really kind of embrace the art form. And it's more than just, these are the inductees and their music. These are some of the stories. And the stories they tell in between the music is really what we love. And we love helping them tell those stories. So.
Wonderful. Now, what can we expect with the induction ceremony this year? When does it take place? Inductions
will be April in Cleveland at Public Hall, which, as of last week, sold out in about 7 minutes. So, it's a rotation of cities. So, back in 2009, the inductions came to Cleveland. It was the first time that the public was actually given access to tickets, and I think it was one of the most powerful moments. I mean, I believe that year Metallica, amongst others, were inducted into the Hall of Fame. That performance that night and hearing the fans react, it's what it was made for, And up to this past year, it was at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and to hear an arena erupt with such just joy and elation that they're there, they are watching their heroes be put into this very exquisite group of folks, and to hear and feel that energy in such a large place really is something that we're very proud of. And that same feel carries over to Cleveland as well when we do it again in April.
Now, do you have any idea who will be performing this year?
You know what? That right now, I believe that is where things are kind of coming into play, and those things are being planned. So I'm not one of those guys.
It will all be announced.
It will. That'll be our next big announcement.
And Klipsch is very proud to be a part of this as well. So they will be the official partner in the induction ceremony.
They are the presenting partner of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming along and sharing your experiences about the information about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and how Klipsch is going to be an integral part of the actual museum itself as well.
No doubt. Hopefully we'll see some folks come down. Love to see them come down to the hall. www.rockhall.com for anybody who wants to get information on paying a visit to Cleveland. Come visit us.
Klipsch Audio, pissing off the neighbors since 1946.